The Housemaid is basically a Lifetime movie on the big screen. I had a great deal of fun watching it, but I'm not sure if I was having fun in the way the film wanted me to. And when I say I'm not sure, I mean that. At time of writing, I'm still not sure if this film is stupid and hilarious on purpose, or if it's actually attempting to be a covertly subversive satire of the type of formulaic, Hallmark Channel slop that it's presenting us with. So let's talk about camp. The idea of something being campy has long since lost its original meaning. In this gay's opinion, camp should be unintentional. Camp exists when there is just a complete lack of self-awareness going on. It's a celebration of delusion and, in 2026 lingo, cringe. A great example that comes to mind for me is a movie like The Core. Here's a movie that is so ridiculous and absurd on its face and has absolutely no self-awareness about that. Every actor here is giving 300%. Aaron Eckhart, Hilary Swank, and Stanley Tucci are all treating this movie as if they genuinely believe they are in an Oscar-winning film.
Suicidal moron! I told you to put the door up and you didn't!
It's, in a word, iconic, precisely because it takes itself extremely seriously, never showing the slightest bit of insecurity, even as it makes Aaron Eckhart blowtorch a peach in front of a room full of generals to illustrate for them that being roasted alive by the sun is bad, actually. But in the past 15 or 20 years or so, the word camp has started to be used a little more loosely, assigned to films that know exactly what they're doing with their silliness. Now, to be camp is to be self-aware, intentionally stupid and irreverent. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a movie like Legally Blonde, for example, that seems to revel in its ridiculousness and its dumbness. Or a horror movie like Insidious that cuts through the tension and the sense of dread by throwing in a one-liner or two by these lovable goofballs.
That's debatable.
It's not debatable.
But is this camp? For my money, no, because again, these filmmakers know exactly what they're doing. Real camp, in my view, is that delicious moment where we all realize that everyone on screen is taking themselves perfectly seriously. When we realize that everyone on screen is woefully unaware of their transgressions against convention or aesthetic standards. When Tommy Wiseau in The Room says,
"Did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not." Oh, hi, Mark.
That is camp. When Liz on season 46 of Survivor has a genuine meltdown when she's not able to eat a Bourbon Street mushroom Swiss burger from Applebee's after a reward challenge that she didn't even come close to winning, that is camp. And this brings me to The Housemaid. Is this movie camp in the traditional sense, unaware of its dumbness? Or is it campy in the pop cultural sense of being dumb on purpose? Personally, I'm still not sure. The first half of the movie is so very, very dumb, and it rules. Millie, played by Sydney Sweeney, is a young woman down on her luck and desperate to find a job that will satisfy her parole officer and keep her from having to serve the last 5 years of her prison sentence behind bars. She poses as a smart college girl who wears glasses, so she can be a live-in housemaid for the wealthy Nina Winchester, played by Amanda Seyfried. See? Stupid already. She gets the job, but wouldn't you know it, things just don't go quite as she expected. Nina turns out to be a little bit of a weirdo. She immediately treats Millie terribly, screams and yells at the smallest transgression, and is constantly suspicious that Millie is trying to steal her obnoxiously attractive husband, Andrew. Andrew, who of course works in tech, a phrase movies love to throw at you when they want you to know that someone is rich, seems to be the voice of reason in this relationship, and does his damnedest to protect Millie from the wrath of Nina. And if he stands just a little bit too close to Millie, or looks at her just a little bit too long, or smiles just a little bit too widely, it's just because he really feels bad for her, wants to help her in any way that he can, and there's absolutely nothing going on, and you'll never guess in a million years where this leads. So yeah, it's a Lifetime movie. I spent this chunk of the movie doing my best to hide my laughter as everyone else in the theater seemed to be taking this completely seriously. For example, watching the film, you might expect that Nina has a gradual ramp up in her behavior, that she, over the course of the movie, gets progressively weirder or more unhinged as the film goes on. But you would be wrong. This movie has all the subtlety of an axe to the face, as within minutes of Millie being hired, Amanda Seyfried is having a Nicolas Nicolas Cage level meltdown, throwing dishes, slamming cabinets in the kitchen, and screaming like a wild animal. The character is basically written like a cross between Miranda Priestley and Faye Dunaway's Joan Crawford.
Barbara, please!
With each demand she gives to Millie more impossible than the last, and plans that constantly change at the last second, ending in either a volcanic explosion of manic rage or a deliciously cutting passive-aggressive read. There's also Nina's daughter Cece, who is just so inexplicably rude and mean, and spends pretty much the entire movie just roasting Sydney Sweeney every time she walks into a room. They dress her like she's in Little House on the Prairie for some reason, and at one point I almost choked on my Diet Coke when we get a slow-mo shot of Cece shit-talking Millie in a whisper to her group of friends. Like, girl, I know Sydney Sweeney can't act, but did you have to go that hard? Cece is a cold-ass bitch for no reason, and I live for it. In the case of Sydney Sweeney, she may have good genes, but those genes didn't seem to translate into an ability to act, or to even change her facial expression beyond either smiling or looking like she has food poisoning. She basically has two levels in this movie: plywood board and plywood board smiling. And honestly, it makes all of this that much better. Her and Amanda Seyfried are in entirely different movies, with Seyfried knowing exactly the type of movie she's in, and Sweeney seemingly having no clue she's in a movie at all. That contrast makes Nina's freakouts and Cece's sick burns that much more hilarious to me. Like, leave this girl alone, she's clearly already dead. Throughout the film, she has a number of conversations and scenes with side characters and supporting characters, and every single one of them manages to outshine her somehow. She is serving pure Gal Gadot, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And then there's Andrew, played by Lifetime Original Film male love interest number 47, also known as Jack Hunter. His actual name is Brandon Sklenner, but you don't care and you're probably never gonna hear it again. Anyway, Taylor Smith plays Andrew as blandly as possible, with the movie giving him nothing to do beyond showing his ass and having Republican missionary sex with Sydney Sweeney while Netflix music plays in the background. Is that a spoiler? Yes, absolutely. But if you didn't know exactly how this was going to turn out as soon as you heard the plot synopsis, I don't know what to tell you. You've never seen a movie, I guess. And God, the sex in this movie is so funny. The few times it happens, it is just so tonally wrong and so out of left field. In the first sex scene, really the main one, we go straight from like psychological thriller music with lightning flashing in this dark hotel room and Sydney Sweeney fearing for her life, immediately into music from the Love is Blind soundtrack as the movie tries to get us to buy this romantic moment with lightning flashing up against Tyler Johnson's ass and Sweeney's still completely lifeless facial expressions. It's just so completely disjointed and out of place and completely iconic. So because this is a Lifetime movie, there has to be a big twist. And I'll admit that while I saw part of the twist coming a mile away, the other part of it was actually a big surprise for me. And it's at this point where I start to wonder about the game this movie is playing. The first half seems entirely unaware of just how stupid it is, and everybody seems to be playing it with pretty much a straight face. But with this twist, things get so over the top, so implausible, that I begin to wonder if these filmmakers could possibly expect anybody to take it seriously. The film pivots into incredibly dark, violent territory, but simultaneously is trying to do this women empowerment girl boss sort of thing, and the two just do not go together and feel so out of place. Surely you can't be presenting this stuff with a straight face at this point. You can't be expecting your audience to actually buy into this, right? Then, when the credits roll and I see that the film was directed by Paul Feig, someone who has directed some of the best comedies of the 21st century, and some of the worst.
Don't let the door hit you in the vagina on the way out.
That makes it even harder for me to believe that there isn't some sort of comedic intentionality to the way that this film traffics in Lifetime girl boss, yas queen cliche. But if it is intentional, the film plays it pretty damn straight. Like I said, this film gets into some incredibly dark, incredibly violent territory. There is genuine tension at moments, and I did find myself slowly inching towards the end of my theater seats, and that's not just because they're incredibly uncomfortable. Seriously, Regal, we really need to do some renovating, please. Seyfried's performance is also worth commending here, as she actually manages to make me care about this character, and she seems to be the only person who's really having fun with this material. But at a technical level, I do just feel like the writing is weaker at this part of the film. The almost cartoonish evil and violence on display here seems designed to purge the film of any sort of moral grayness or nuance. A central villain is depicted as such a psychotic, sadistic tyrant that it absolves any other character of any sort of wrongdoing in the film, and robs the audience of any opportunity at critical thinking. The way things work out in the end is just so neat and tidy and convenient for everybody involved, which seemed really out of place with how bloody and morally messy everything got in the third act. In literary terms, we go from Stephen King to Colleen Hoover in the span of about 20 minutes. Thankfully, though, the final scene of the movie and the hints we get about what one particular character is going to be doing in the future brought us right back to the stupid, and that was a welcome return that left me with a smile on my face as the credits rolled. Before I wrap up this video, though, I want to talk about a couple funny moments that I wasn't able to get to anywhere else in the video. There's one scene where Millie has a meeting with her parole officer, and in that meeting, Millie tells her parole officer that she's been journaling. Her parole officer is like, "That's great," and Millie says, "Would you like to read it?" And the parole officer says, "God, no, I already have too much shit to read." And Millie's like, at one point, Millie and Andrew go on this like romantic dinner date sort of thing, and they literally put Kyle Patterson in the perfect quintessential winter Lifetime movie outfit, a black turtleneck and a black blazer. Then they literally do a slow-mo shot of Sydney Sweeney coming down the stairs, revealing the most Hillary Clinton-ass outfit I've ever seen. And of course, Andrew is just in awe over this. It was too much. I nearly died. If this is supposed to be a satire, it's almost too on the nose. There's a character named Enzo who's a groundskeeper in the movie, and every time he was on screen, I couldn't help but laugh. He just kind of skulks in the background. It doesn't really have anything to do other than give Millie these vague warnings that you shouldn't be here. It felt like such a parody because every time she turned around, there he was in the window glaring at her for no reason. I genuinely was wondering at one point if he was going to end up being some sort of like ghost who only Millie could see, because none of the other characters seem to even really know what he's doing out there or what work they hired him to do. I also just love it when movies like this feel the need to make every single character just devastatingly hot, even if it makes no sense for the character. This movie also features one of my least favorite things in any movie, which is narration. There are multiple moments where it just makes absolutely no sense that anyone would be narrating things, where we literally forget that there's ever been narration in this movie at all, and then all of a sudden, Sydney Sweeney is talking to us again. And it's usually just to explain something to us that any adult with a functioning brain would have already figured out. But what makes this amazing is that just like everything else, Sydney Sweeney gives us nothing with these narrations. She just sounds completely monotone, even when she's supposed to be trying to tell us how upset and frustrated she is with Nina's treatment of her. So yeah, The Housemaid is mostly a good time, especially in the first half. Post-twist, though, the film gets a little bit less fun for me. There's a weird sort of sadism going on with one of the characters in the film that feels completely implausible and over the top, but also too dark to really be funny in that way. Characters are getting abused and battered and mutilated in ways that just kind of robs it of the campy dumbness of the first half. But even then, if you can get past these sometimes difficult to watch scenes in the second half, there's a lot of fun to be had. And the ending is genuinely satisfying and, again, really dumb. Whether it's camp in my definition or campy in the more commonly used definition, we may never know. But either way, I thoroughly enjoyed my time watching this movie and think it is absolutely worth your time as well. When Liz, on season 46 of Survivor, has a genuine meltdown when she realizes that she's not going to be able to have her... Oh, I need to look up the name of that. I need to look up the name of the cheeseburger. Hang on. This is very important. We need the specific title. Bourbon Street Mushroom Swiss Burger? Oh no. Okay, we're gonna do our best. We're gonna do our best. Okay. Bourbon Street Mushroom Swiss Burger. Oh my god. Bourbon Street Mushroom Swiss Burger. Bourbon Street Mushroom